this meeting of the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors to order at whatever time it is, 6 something? 6:03. The first item is agenda review. Does anybody have any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, for a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Steve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any visitors tonight who want to address the board about something not on the agenda? Okay. Host site, we are at Northwest Technical Center. Hi, Lena.
Hi. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay. You should have our board report attached. If you have any questions, let us know. This is a quick summation of all of the programs and what we've done this year. Hope you enjoy that with the photos. Today, we want to do a quick demonstration with some students and one of our teachers. We have Sam Hayford and Lena Baker, both students from the Public Safety and Emergency Services program, along with their teacher, Mike Antoniak. I want to let you know that Mike Antoniak was recognized as the Outstanding Teacher of the Year today. I thought that's important to point out. They're headed to Louisville, Kentucky on Sunday because they took first place in the State Skills USA Conference, and they'll be competing nationally. And they're going to be doing a Stop the Bleed job skill demonstration, which is what they won at the state level. So we thought this was a good opportunity for them to practice in front of a crowd, because that's what they're going to be doing when they get to Louisville, and also to inform you of what Stop the Bleed is, because Mike and his students have been traveling around our school district and have trained over 400 people ish. Yeah. Okay. So Stop the Bleed is a national movement to prepare people to take action in an emergency. And Mike will elaborate on the details of Stop the Bleed along with the students. Welcome.
We're not going to have to actually bleed, right?
No bleeding involved.
No, actually the one we have is not going to work blood anything.
Got one that does?
So real quick, again, we got Sam Hayford. Sam is a senior. Actually, he told me tonight, he goes, you know, Mr. Antoniak, last thing I want to do as a senior is come back to high school. So he's here, of course. You know, and I'm honored that he's here. And then we got Lena Baker. So Sam was a cadet on the Explorer program for the police department, also in my program, and Landon's a cadet on the Georgia Fire Department. So Skills USA, we won 10 gold medals this year, and we have 11 students going to participate at the national level in Louisville. These are just two of the examples that are here today. And Sam just demonstrate a downed police officer, and it's a 5 to 7 minute demonstration, so he's going to demonstrate that. And then we're just going to leave afterwards, okay? Unless you have any questions, but I think we'll just leave. So I'll leave it up to Sam.
Good evening. Did you know 60,000 people died from hemorrhaging, commonly known as blood loss, in 2018? 52 police officers were shot and killed. Today I'll be teaching you how to effectively stop the bleed, as well as remove a ballistic vest and duty belt from a downed police officer. The tools I'm using today are a Combat Application Tourniquet, or CAT tourniquet, used by both military and law enforcement around the world. It stops the bleed by cutting off circulation. I'll also be using combat gauze to pack the wound and apply pressure to stop the bleed. I'll be using gloves to provide bodily substance isolation and prevent bloodborne pathogens. The demonstrator now will be wearing duty belts, which are secured to an inner belt using 4 to 6 belt keepers. They quickly snap on, remove them, snap off. We'll also be wearing ballistic vests, and I'll be using a fake leg with a simulated gunshot wound. All these tools are to prevent the 4 to 5 liters of blood or 2 to 3 2-liter soda bottles from exiting the body. The scenario is me and my partner were out on foot patrol. I hear shots ring out. I see my partner fall to the ground with a gunshot wound to the left leg. The subject is placed into custody. The scene is safe. The first thing I'll do is inform my dispatch to request an ambulance. Unit 1 dispatch, shots fired, officer down, gunshot wound, left leg above the knee, requesting an ambulance. I'll then take out my gloves, which will provide bodily substance isolation to prevent further harm for my partner or to me. I then will go down to his duty belt. I'll find his tourniquet. I'm using his tourniquet, not mine in case I need mine. Once I have his tourniquet, I'll take the red tab, undo it completely. I will place the tourniquet 2 to 3 inches above the wound. Put the red tab back through, pulling it as tight as I can, resecuring the Velcro strap. I'll then undo the Velcro tab, take out the woundless rod, and I'll spin until I'm physically unable to. Today I'll do it once so I don't hurt my demonstrator. I'll resecure the woundless rod, resecure the time tab. I'll take a Sharpie out and I'll write down tab as well for my dispatch. Unit 1, tourniquet applied. I'll move on to removing his duty belt. I will find the 4 to 6 belt keepers. Once the belt keepers are removed, I can remove his duty belt. I'll move on to his ballistic vest, undoing the Velcro straps and pulling the vest over his head. I'll then move on to blood sweep to check for other major bleeding. I'll start from the head down, patting, looking at my hands. Obviously, when you come down to his left leg, there is going to be blood. And I found another source of bleeding. Now, it's not major, so I do not need to apply a tourniquet. What I'll do is I'll take my combat gauze, and on the simulated leg with the gunshot, I will take the gauze, wrap my thumb in it. I'll stick my thumb with the gauze into the wound, applying pressure. Now this will be very painful, they will be screaming. Then I will pack the wound with as much gauze as I can. Once I've packed the wound tight with gauze, I'll take the extra gauze that I have, wrap it up, and apply pressure. Now I can apply pressure with my hand or use my knee if I need my hands to assess other bleeding. I will hold pressure and I'll not let go until a higher level of care, so in this case, when the ambulance arrives. Once the ambulance arrives, they take over care for my partner. I'll take his duty vest and duty belt. I'll place them in a secure location so they do not fall into the wrong hands. Today I taught you how to stop the bleed by wound packing and applying a tourniquet. In this scenario, I did not have an abdominal or chest wound. In that case, you'll not pack the wound with your gauze. You can use the gauze and apply pressure only. You do not have enough gauze to pack the abdominal or the chest cavity. You'll just apply pressure and wait for the ambulance. And EMS response times are longer than my entire presentation. So without proper care, the patient suffering from major bleeding will die before my presentation ends.
So with the Stop the Bleed initiative, working with a hospital, we were able to secure 3 Stop the Bleed kits at BFA. One is located over by the nurse's office on the wall. One is located down at the tech center office. The other one's by Mr. Marlowe's office. So if anybody's in the building and we have, if we have any issues in the school or something's going on, everybody should be aware where those items are located. Because you never know. Thank you very much.
I have a question. How expensive are the vests? I mean, are the kits? The stop to bleed kits?
Roughly a stop to bleed kit like that, I think costs about $899, $900. Although if you need to borrow one or you want someone to come to your school, my class would be more than happy, or the school or location. We've actually traveled to Burlington and classes there too, like especially in library and stuff like that. We'll be able to, you don't have to buy it, we'll be able to provide it for you, or the hospital has kits.
Yeah, I was wondering about the actual kit.
Oh,
like the tourniquet the combat does.
So just the basic, good tourniquet's about $26 or so. But the bleeding kit is about $300, $400. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like I think about defibrillators and access to something like that if someone was injured and how long it would take to get to.
We have 4 of those in school too.
Okay.
And we have one over at the nurse's office. We have one over by the English department over here. We have a tech center, one outside the gym. So we have 4 on site, and they have one for the trainer all the time, complex and the complex. One of the things we want to work on is getting a stop and kit at the complex because big events happen there. Mm-hmm. So, or bringing from here to there at bigger events. It's a work in progress for my students next year.
They teach the teachers here at school. When you said that they taught 400 people, I didn't know who those people were.
Yeah, sorry, you want to speak to that?
I'm asking you. Right?
Yeah. Me. It's all about the students. It's not about me. It's all about the students.
I'm sorry.
We're close to about 1,000 people in this area that we've taught. Mainly the whole district here, the office, and also these 2 students went around to a lot of the other areas that happen with the hospital and the law enforcement. They taught probably at multiple places. And also next year, one of the initiatives is every tech center student here. 361 this year. All tech center students next year will be able to go through that program. Right now, we have about 100 tech center students that finish this year, along with first aid CPR.
Mike and a former student trained our staff during an August in service, so it was an hour and a half long. Mm-hmm. So
we do it in 45 minutes or so, if that's much time. I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I will. We'll be more than happy to do a refresher when we all get together as a district in August. But I don't know if at this time I've done for that. We can have stations set up with the hospital and a joint effort just to break time or something. But just throw that out there. Sorry, Dr. Do it.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Walk them out and thank them. That's my report.
Right. Okay, the consent agenda. We have the minutes from June 5th, 2019 on there. Does anybody want to remove the minutes for discussion? If there are no objections, the consent agenda will be adopted. I don't hear any objections. The consent agenda is adopted. Old business. Joanna attended a training on board retreats from VSBA, and so hoping she'll give us a summary of that. And then I would like to see if we can set a date for a retreat.
Awesome. Okay, great. I can send this to everybody. It's pretty cut and dry, but basically they just went over why you should have a board retreat in the first place, and the main topics were to celebrate accomplishments, to strengthen relationships, to orient new board members, to set annual goals, and to dig deeply into one goal and just simply to re-energize. Obviously with, I believe, 3 new board members, it makes sense for us to do that. Certainly after our last board meeting, since we got a poll afterwards, it just shows that we don't really know each other as people and or really understand the full role of what board members are supposed to do. So it just talked about planning an effective retreat, And I think one of the biggest things that I took away from it is that they just said to make sure that you have somebody to facilitate the meeting, and to have that be somebody who's objective, who doesn't have any, buy into it. And they offered people to be able to facilitate. So they said, just as long as you choose a date and time well in advance, and you get enough input from board members and consensus that everybody can attend. They also said to make sure you plan a balanced agenda between presentation and interaction, to encourage open discussion and commitment to team building, and including a fun activity, possibly outdoors, an outside facilitator. And they just said that building a strong team is important to be able to establish trust, to improve communication, and to develop collaboration skills, and simply have fun. And I think that everybody's here for good reasons, but it's important for us to understand what our roles and responsibilities are as board members, and to all share, to establish a common vision as we move forward. So now that we're finished with Act 46, not entirely, but mostly as far as board responsibilities, what next? Where will we look to next? What common themes and vision will we be focused on, and how will we be impactful, together as a team?
So is everybody in favor of doing this? It sounded like it last time. And I was thinking we have one meeting in August, so I was thinking maybe August, or we could do it in September sometime. Are people going away in August? Good.
Yeah, I'm going away in August.
Going away.
Just one part of it, but
One meeting in July, one meeting in August, I believe, and then back to our normal schedule.
I almost want to do August, if that's okay, because September's just running out.
September's busy.
I think it would just make, personally speaking, it would make me feel probably more confident moving forward at the beginning of the school year, to have the board retreat over the summer, just more time to learn and develop and go from there.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll have Brenda send out one of her pick a time things or whatever they are. And yeah, we can see if we can find a time when people will be available.
Weekday. Oh, I don't know.
I'd rather weekday.
How long do they usually, is there,
I mean, we can do a day, we can do 2 half days. I mean, it really kind of depends on,
they
we can
recommend
do some
time?
work prior to, just thinking about what, when they, really the most important thing would be, just the setting an annual goal. Because when we had talks, I believe 2 meetings ago, we didn't have one set at that point. So coming to some kind of consensus as to what our goal would be, and then, also reflecting back on the year, about the work that has been done, and then setting the goal for the next year, basically. So,
I don't want to go a whole day. I know I would be beat. We can figure that out.
you can do a 3 meeting day, 6 hours of debate.
It's like 6.
It probably doesn't even.
Remember the one?
21st, I think.
21st what?
That's when the August meeting is. Okay, so we'll get Brenda to send out a doodle, whatever it is, and then if over the next 2 or 3 weeks we could have everybody send me ideas for what should be on the agenda.
And I can send you this PowerPoint, just the whole thing about, setting the annual goals, assessing progress, identifying areas of continued focus, seek input from district leaders, prioritize, and be specific. But we should be having like 3 to 5 measurable goals for the one annual goal that we're going to focus on.
Okay. Oh, and you mentioned the poll. My plan was that not every meeting, but every now and then, every few meetings, I would send that out. And I only got 2 responses, so did everybody see that?
I think I did to do it.
Okay. So, I mean, the two responses I got were very helpful. But it would be great if people could respond. You know, we can always get better. So, all right, new business. Item 8A, new Collins Burley Assistant Manager.
So after Tim Beans was given the manager position a few weeks ago, the Collins Burley Board went into interviews for the assistant manager position, and they have come to you with a recommendation. Well, actually, because it's assistant manager, they take care of it. So this is an FYI, but I wanted to introduce who they've suggested as the person they'd like. Some people might know him, Mark Deso. Mark is a local person, works here in town, member of SASA, right?
15 years.
So has been very involved with sports in the area. I had a very good meeting with him. He has some very nice, very good ideas and areas that are working great at Collins Burley, as well as things that we could look at in the future. So I'd like to introduce him. And Mark, no pressure, but if you want to say anything to the board.
Thank you for inviting me to here. I want to thank the selection committee for giving me this opportunity. I'm no stranger to the complex, as they said. With SASA for 15 years, I had many dealings with Tim and David McKill during that time, which were all good or bad. We always agreed to disagree. It was always good for the community in the end. And I want to thank Mr. Kimball. He's retiring, which opened up this opportunity for me, and thank him for the years of service that he gave to the community and the complex. Much appreciated all that he did there. So, thank you, and look forward to working with Timmy.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8B, renewal of Valley Crossroads lease.
Lisa, do you want to talk about it?
So we have an off-site training location that is currently owned by Northwestern Medical Center, and that's where we house our medical training for the adult education program. And it's an annual lease renewal, and they're not increasing the amount. And it's $1,100 per month for a total of $13,200.
Okay, I was looking for a motion to authorize the board chair to sign the Valley Crossroads lease renewal.
So moved.
Thanks, Jack.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lena. Any discussion? Anybody have any questions?
No, it just has James Starr still on.
That's been changed. So the version that we have to sign tonight is.
Because it was a different firm.
It doesn't seem like it should be painful.
I don't know. Do you think the conflict?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Did you go last year, Nelson?
She could do it. Of course, I gained a lot. Well, I know. I just.
It's up to you. Okay. So no more discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Okay, item 8C, internal field review.
So we spoke to you earlier about the internal field review that was done. So I won't repeat a lot of that information. Our internal IFR from the state was done. Well, I'm sure Joan and Angela will talk about it. We got the results very recently, and those results had certain commendations and had certain recommendations. So Joan and Angela most kindly took the lead on this right from the start to have it all organized and all the logistics in place. And as such, I wanted to give them the opportunity to discuss the results. It's all yours.
Sure, and it's in the board packet, the slideshow? Is it in the slideshow?
No. Not seeing it here, or we're gonna display it any minute now. The light is on. It's gonna take some time.
Brenda, can you also, while we're doing that, email it maybe to the board?
I'll put it there.
Put it in the folder, so that way you can reference it later if you'd like to look at it again. We tried to put a little color in it, so that you can
So basically, this is a peer review process, and we would compete while they went to other schools maybe some people went to our school. We were all set to do this in the fall, get everything done and lined up the day before they canceled. So we did it again in the spring. They basically look at a whole bunch of artifacts that we supply, and then they interview all the stakeholders. So they interviewed administrators and teachers and students and parents and basically anybody. They gave us all different combinations we had to give them, and we set everything up throughout all 5 of our schools. At the end, regardless of how phenomenal or horrible your school system is, every school gets 2 commendations and 2 recommendations. And that's what you get in the 5 areas. So the 5 areas are the educator quality standard areas. And then we're going to take you through the 5. You're going to see our 2 commendations, then the 2 recommendations, and then what we put as the best fight is what we're already doing in that area. So the biggest takeaway for us was, for the most part, this was nothing new to us. And we were already working in every area. So we felt really good about that.
Did you get any information that was helpful and useful that you learned?
I think it's affirming. I don't think it was new.
There's nothing.
So, if I know your voice was that bad, I would have So the first area is academic proficiency. These are the 2 commendations, which you can certainly see there. Schools using data-driven decisions and our access to district technology embedded into instructional strategies and practices. The next one, these are recommendations, looking at proficiency-based learning, how we're reporting, communicating with stakeholders, and also looking at what we're doing to support the social and emotional learning of our students and differentiation of instruction. So those are recommendations, and then this is what we've either started working on. It was in our 5-year plan. It's things that are connected to our continuous improvement plan. So one of the things we've been working on all year with Mona's great help in terms of our curriculum alignment, we're working to create a common reporting system that is aligned pre-K-12, as well as continuing our work on improving proficiency-based learning, and also how we communicate what we're doing around that with families, because obviously the proficiencies are new. We're trying to make sure that information is getting out to families. There's 2 consultants listed here, Joelle Van Lent and Rebecca Haslam. We have been in the past and will continue to next year consult with them, bring them in to do training for the staff around trauma, resiliency, equity. And we've actually used Rebecca with students in some of the schools as well, working with the students to understand equity and diversity, and that's been very powerful. I want to continue that work. And the last thing that our focus area is reflected in the math, literacy, and the climate, the positive climate in our continuous improvement plan. And Mona's going to speak about that, but all those pieces around the academics are focused in our continuous improvement plan.
So personalized learning, they were looking at a couple of different ways that we differentiate for kids and provide a lot of instruction that's personalized. And then the breadth of courses that are being offered in our high school and at our tech center. As far as recommendations, they wanted us to be looking at the consistent personalized learning process, and the platform, and you're going to see that in what we're working on. And also looking at comparable opportunities across all schools. So what we said is we're looking now at a pre-K-12 system that provides the platform for student growth, learning, and personalization. So having all of our PLPs being done under Power School Learning now from pre-grade to 12th grade, that was one step. We're also looking at our platform and making sure that we're bringing in a robust enough platform to support all the different needs of all the different schools. So that's a piece of work we're doing.
Could you define platform for
Oh, sorry. The software system that houses the portfolios of the students, the grading systems, and in the future it'll also house our databases for our different data points that we're trying to look at to analyze together. So it's got three components. The component that has the portfolios also has a little learning management system where a lot of teachers will post the work of their class and parents will go in there and find out what students need to work on. So there's three different components and it's all under one umbrella. So this is our direction that we're moving in. So this is all stuff we've been working on and it was consistent with what we got as feedback. That's okay.
Feedback from other teachers?
Well, just feedback from yourselves, looking at what we're doing, what we want to do.
So the next area is safe and healthy schools commendations. We are commended for creating student-centered, well-maintained, and safe learning environments that are welcoming to our students. You can also see here our focus on the social emotional well-being of our students, including offering healthy meal options and a positive atmosphere for peer mentoring. The recommendation was examining what and how do we handle the behavioral issues and concerns in the schools, across schools, and how do we communicate that to stakeholders. And the other piece was examining our MTSS framework so that there's access and the components are clearly communicated to stakeholders. So that's educational jargon, and that is our support system. We used to, every school has their own team that meets weekly and looks at how we're supporting kids, whether it be behaviorally, socially, emotionally, or academically. And that's what, it's called the multi-tiered system of supports. And so there's many angles to it. That's why the MTSS is there. But they want us to look at that system, defining the components, looking at how we do it in schools. So that's exactly what we're doing. Every school meets weekly, and at this time, we've adjusted all the meeting times for next year so that our new special education director and director of behavioral support can attend those meetings in all the schools, which will be really essential when we're looking for resources or advice in areas where we can support students. So that's incredibly important in terms of our plan moving forward. Also, we are going to be looking at how we write plans and sharing the different templates and looking for that consistency across the schools. The other piece here is also using restorative practices. We've had many staff in the different schools get training around that, so we can use that for addressing behavioral concerns. And again, as stated earlier, the trauma and resiliency training will help teachers and staff addressing behavioral issues with students and giving us strategies.
So the next one is high quality study. And it talks about the teachers and the work that teachers are doing, and that we're constantly looking at improvements. Those were our recommendations. And then our recommendations were around an evaluation model, and that was our biggest one, and also getting teacher input in the professional learning needs. So this was a really good one for us to see, because by the time we got the report, we had finalized on our focus. Lisa, could you get one more time? We had just finalized the supervision and evaluation system from April 1. So 8 years ago, Angela and I were part of a process where we developed with whole bunch of teachers and evaluation system. But we had one per school. And while they were very similar, we had a lot of similar complements. We didn't have one for Maple Run. So this year we sat together and we figured out how we could each take the best of our systems and put together a Maple Run system that we would all commit to use. So that's been done. It's presented to the union. They bought into that, and it's presented to all teachers, and that will go into effect next year. So by the time we've gotten that recommendation, we were all ready to go with this.
So how often will veteran teachers be evaluated?
Every teacher, every year with our system. Every year. That's what we've been doing in our schools for the last 8 years.
Is there a team of you who provides this supervision?
The administrators.
Or is it just one of you?
Just the administrators.
Impressive.
So the last area is investment priorities. Our commendations are around supporting our staff and providing adequate educational resources to teach students, and also being committed to developing strong communications with our stakeholders and involving them in the decision-making process. Our recommendations are around providing additional professional learning opportunities to stakeholders on the new data system. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of these connect, and this is around the Power Teacher Pro, the new unified classroom, so parents understand the information that's being shared with them about their children. And the other recommendation is to explore ways to increase engagement of stakeholders in our continuous improvement planning efforts. So what our focus is providing the training to our staff on the new student data system, the Power Teacher Pro during in-service. So we have that already in our PD calendar. And the other important piece is each school has a leadership team, and we use that team to gather input for improvement efforts that impact not only each school building, but the district as a whole. And one of the ways this year that was really great in terms of gathering input from different stakeholders was the technology study that was done. And there were students, parents, staff that were all interviewed through that process. And obviously it's technology, but it's a global piece around education. So that's the end of it. So there's a lot of things here. We're really proud of the things we've done and the things we have, slotted to work on toward the future. And the one thing that was interesting, so they went to each school, different teams, but you kind of think about, well, what did they see this and that school and this? But this report is a Maple Run report. So the nice thing is it keeps our focus as we are one district. And so you pull these things together, because there was only one mention because it was high school courses. Well, that's obviously clearly related to 912, but everything else is there, and it's also the recommendations thinking about how we continue to work together and be consistent as a district. So I thought it was very valuable, and just keeping that lens of we're one district, and these are the things we can continue to do together to improve student learning.
Angela, I'm sorry, on the leadership team, who makes up the teams again?
So each school has a different composition, but it's usually comprised of a variety of teachers that meet. We meet on a regular basis throughout the year. The way my leadership team is set up is there's also subcommittees. So we have one for literacy, one for math, and one for school climate, which you'll hear from Mona tie into the continuous improvement plan for each school and for the district, which they're aligned. So it helps us kind of keep that global look, but then we also have people that are more experts in those different areas and can focus on that, and then they constantly meet and report back, and some of them go to the curriculum meetings that Mona holds and then report back to me. So it's a good line of communication, and it gives input from teachers who are doing the work every day, so it's very useful.
So the leadership team that you're speaking of, is that the same leadership team that will be evaluating teachers?
No, the folks that evaluate teachers in my building are Angela Stebbins and Jason Darian. So those are, so the leadership team helps us with the work and helps give input in decisions.
About the evaluation process.
No, about the initiatives in the school and how they align to our literacy work, our math work. They look at data. They look like our climate group looks at the Swiss, the data on student behavioral data, making decisions, and that team also really kind of is a cheerleader for keeping a positive climate going. And so they do a lot of things around that as well. But the evaluation piece, the evaluation of teachers happens with the administration. I imagine that would be true in all of the buildings.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions?
Thank you for listening.
So this actually worked very well in that we are at a point too. Each school district has a requirement to do a Cip plan, which is a continuous improvement plan. One thing that I think is a little bit superfluous, but it happens anyway, is the fact even now with merged districts, each building has to do a continuous improvement plan, and the district has to do a continuous improvement plan. So something you'll notice now that we're merged, when you read the plan, is that there's an awful lot of duplication between the buildings, as there should be, because we're all working on the same sort of stuff. That the Cip plan, Mona, I'm sorry if I'm getting into stuff that you might be talking about anyway, but the Cip plan, in addition to giving us goals that we're working on, which is part of what we're learning from the IFR and things like that, is it also is very contingent on grant money that we receive from our CFG grant. So they won't give us money unless what we're asking for money has something to do with the Cip. So with that, we thought it would be a good segue to just talk a little bit about that, and Mona will be doing this part.
Sure. Next year's continuous improvement plan, we made some minor changes, like Kevin said, to the strategies and to the goals, so that the language better aligns to what federal funds are the federal grants are looking for, so that we can expand and enhance the strategies that we have and enhance the funding that actually goes into the schools. So one of the things I'd like to talk about is the CIP process, and it is truly a process that really involves everyone that contributes to the student learning. One of the processes that we are implementing or we engage in is the Plan, Do, Study, Act, the PDSA model, where we're constantly looking at our data, we're constantly looking at our instructional strategies and the implementation, the curriculum, everything that has to do with what we're doing in the classrooms every day goes through that process of inquiry so that we can become better at what we're doing. This process also looks at the big picture. Big picture meaning adult actions. The collaboration that's embedded within the school day. That's why it's so important that you support us asking for more time that's embedded within the school day so that teachers are aware, that can collaborate together with their administrators and with each other to do more and to understand learning issues that are happening, to understand the curriculum. This is very important work, especially when districts are coming to, schools are coming together to form districts. This is very critical to the success of the school and ultimately to the success of students. Looking at accountability, our accountability and what holds us accountable, what are we looking at? We're looking at, is it data driven? When we say we're doing well, how are we saying we're doing well? And if we're not doing well, what is it that we need to do better? We look at the equitable opportunities that we provide across our district. We make sure that the smaller schools get, the students that are going to the smaller schools have a chance as well, equal chance, not equal, but equitable chance. And respect for diversity. And specific feedback, like Joan and Angela were saying, we want to give constructive feedback to our teachers so that they can become better. In fact, multiple research supports that idea that the more you give constructive feedback to your teachers, the better they are at producing better, the better they know how to improve themselves. We at Maple Run believe in this model. We know that effective collaboration takes all these elements and makes them contribute to the student learning, to the success of every student that goes to our district schools. So collaborative teams, we're getting better at that. This year we put in our 5-year teaching and learning plan that we're going to do a specific way to collaborate through the inquiry process, the data team process across our district. The Plan, Do, Study Act is another aligned way of doing that. The continuous improvement, the commitment to results, the shared inquiry, and then the shared beliefs about what our students can do all contribute to the way we collaborate and to student success in our district. Now the why. Other than why we have to do it because of the grants, that's one good reason, but when we plan, when any educator plans, they're really planning for exponential growth. I planned well, I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna reach exponential growth. That's the first graph there. But when we actually go and apply it, there's so many intricate details, and student learning is very complicated. So all these twists and turns, the more we know about these twists and turns, the better we become as educators. We can predict better. So, looking at this graph, we know that the cause data, or the behaviors, contribute to the effect data, or the results or student outcomes. So, the lucky district, or lucky schools, have high results, but have a low understanding of the behaviors, so the replication of success is very unlikely. The losing district, losing ground district, has low results, but have a low understanding of what took them there. How do we get here? The replication of failure is very likely. The learning districts, they have low results, but they're doing something about it. They understand exactly what's going on. They use the data. They try things. They talk to each other. And then leading district, and then replication for the learning districts, the replication of mistakes is very unlikely. So they're learning. And then we want to shoot to be the leading districts. We're working. We're on our way to getting there. We want high results and high understanding how we got there, so that we can duplicate them and spread them. So this is our data for the last, I don't know if you can see this, and I don't know if I can make it a little bigger. The last 4 years, this is our math data, district-wide. You'll see fluctuations in this data, and we have been getting better at digging deeper. When you dig deeper, there's a story to tell every year, because depending on the class size, depending on the what's going on with each individual student, you know that there are outliers. Sometimes they can bring down the data. Sometimes they can inflate the data. But when we dig deeper, we look at what is really going on. What's the story behind that number? And there's always a story. So this is our math data for the last 4 years. And we're not very far behind from the state. We can with deliberate work, we can surpass these scores. This is our English language arts literacy data for the last 4 years. Again, fluctuations, same reasoning. Now the how and what. Angela and Joan talked about the Vermont education quality standards, that we had to align our goals to the academic proficiencies, personalization, high quality staffing, safe, healthy schools, and then financial proficiencies. So when we looked at developing our goals, we looked at the overall data, the common data points that we have across our districts. We have SBAC, which is our state assessment. The Swiss data is the behavior data that we have. The interim assessments that are aligned to the SBAC as well. And then the SAT and PSATs. So we have general areas of need. They're revealed by data. So there's a general pattern, we see it. And then we hone in on a deeper analysis to come up with the strategies or change ideas. What are we going to do differently to achieve better results? We're always asking those questions. The goals are influenced by our shared vision, by the education quality standards, by the annual snapshot. It's like the report card for our district and our schools, which will be coming out soon. And then the integrated field review that Joan and Angela just talked about. So when we develop our goals, we also have to include these things so that the goals are the SMART goals. SMART meaning they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they are relevant to our students, and they're timely. So what will be improved, how much, by when, for what and for whom, and how will we inform progress? How do we know that we're getting closer? That's why data is very important. So these are our goals. I can read them out if you'd like me to. Nod your head if you want me to read them, okay? Mathematics, achievement in grades 3 through 11, and I deliberately included 11th grade because, as you know, the state assessment has moved from the 11th grade to the 9th grade. But that doesn't mean at Maple Run that we stop monitoring students at the end of 9th grade. We want to keep making sure that our students are growing up to 11th grade so that they can be ready for college and career. Whether it's SAT or anything else that they choose they want to do, they'll be able to do it because they have the skills. So achievement in grades 3 through 11, mathematics, as determined by the SBAC, PSAT, and SAT, will improve to be either greater than state performance or greater than 50% proficient, whichever is higher by 2022. English Language Arts, achievement in grades 3 through 11, ELA, as determined by the SBAC, PSAT, and SAT, will improve to be either greater than state performance or greater than 50% proficient, whichever is higher by 2022. Positive climate for learning. The number of out-of-classroom referrals for minor incidents will decrease by at least 90%, and by 25% for major problem behaviors, as evidenced by Swiss behavioral data by the year 2022. High-quality instruction. Maple Run Unified School District teachers will increase the application of high-leverage instructional practices by at least 50% by 2022, as indicated by classroom walkthrough data performed by leadership, instructional coaches, and teacher peer visits. And before we implement our goals, we want to make sure that we are going to be successful. So things that we talk about and we make sure that we have funding for is, do we have full system of support for this change? Do we have the right people? Are they well trained? When they implement, are we giving them feedback? Do we, if something is not working, how are we revising it? How are we looking at our strategies so that we can meet the students, where they are, and then move them up, because everybody can achieve. So, and how do we know that this change is actually an improvement? Finally, you get to ask your questions.
What percentage of the high school students take PSATs and SATs?
That's a very good question. So right now, we have, maybe I would say, Shannon, you can help me out with that. Maybe a third or a little more than a third. But our goal right now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say it's probably close to that.
Okay, good.
Both the PSATs and the SATs?
I would say closer to, not combined, it's a fair number of students that take the PSAT, and I would say combined PSAT and ACT.
And we were just meeting just yesterday at the high school, looking for ways to increase that. And we realized, I actually asked the question when I went to the training on the school report card, the snapshot report, and I said, you know, is this going to be, is the funding going to be supplied by the state? And they said that the state is working on that, but not anytime soon. So
funding for students to do SATs?
Yes.
Okay.
And PSATs.
And what other systems do you use to evaluate students up until like standardized testing? Now that the SBACs are down at 9th grade, what other than PSATs and SATs, is there any other way to evaluate that?
That's another thing that I just met with the high school team yesterday with teachers, Mr. Mosca and Shannon. We talked about putting in some progress monitoring tools. And actually, if the funding goes, if the CFG grant gets approved, we can have a coach, and we can also have a interventionist that will work in the student lab to help with that. And actually, we can also get the support program to help the teachers implement those strategies. So we're working on it.
And my last question is, in terms of the teaching strategies, and you talk about improving the teaching strategies by 50% in 2020, do you have a baseline level now in terms of you're doing teacher walkthroughs and peer reviews, administration reviews now, or do you still need to establish that baseline?
So we have to know that there's no perfect teacher out there. We're always improving. So whatever that number is, we are striving to always get better at it. So the instructional strategy, and it's not about just the numbers, it's about the collaboration that will happen between the principal and the teacher, between the teacher to another teacher, giving them an excuse to go in to each other's classrooms and build that collaboration. So when we say by 50%, we're really wanting for them to talk to each other a little bit more, relevant to set of ideas, a common set of ideas, a set of instructional practices. So right now, with the math studios that we have going on in our schools, that's what we've been working on. We've been working on instructional strategies for math to improve critical thinking, to improve problem-solving skills, collaboration. So I say we're doing pretty well. I can't give you a number, not yet, but we're working on it. Yes.
Mona, in the past, when you're my age, you're always talking about in the past. We had 2 SATs. We had the College Board, which was Scholastic Aptitude Test, and then a local assessment Standard Achievement Test. So the SAT that you're talking about here is the actual College Board test?
Yes, it's the College Board test. It's the new and improved version of it because it includes that essay and that they're requiring kids to do the analytical essays, analytical reading, and that's how they're measuring the science and social studies through the kids' ability to read complex text. So that's the difference.
Okay, are there any local assessments?
The local assessments are the teacher local assessments that they have, that they're developed, they're curriculum based. So whatever they're teaching, they're coming up with their local assessments. But that's very important because it keeps things going. But we also want the benchmark assessments as well. So for validity and reliability, we look at the summatives as well.
Are there any tests that kids who don't take the College Board Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT,
Yep.
are there any tests that other kids take so you know how they're doing?
Yes, well, we have the local assessments, and we have the aspect in 9th grade. Some of them, these are the 2 assessments that we have, and then we're working on getting the formative assessments and the summative assessments through the diagnostic tools that we have. Yeah. And there's also the state is looking into, well, some districts do that, the military test that
Yes, ma'am.
the state is looking at if a school cannot afford to do SATs for all the students, then they can do this test, and that will be okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions? Steve?
I should know, but so for the parents, there's no out-of-pocket expense for your child to take the PSAT or the SAT?
There is currently.
There is currently, yes.
So
Yeah.
is that a limiting factor for some families then, for the kids taking this test?
No, because the College Board will provide kids who can't afford it the chance to take it.
You have something in
For
place
free.
to guide those parents through that process so they don't fall through the cracks, or?
Yes, there is, and yeah, they do inform them, and they,
Thank you.
Preston Randall does a very good job with that.
Great, thank you.
Is that part of the continuous improvement plan? If right now you're saying a third to a half of students are taking them, is part of the plan to do more outreach, to make more people aware of when the tests are and how to navigate those systems?
It's actually in place right now. I think BFA does a very good job doing that. But the state does not mandate all students take the SAT or the PSAT. They don't mandate that yet. But they do give us some, bonus points for doing that. And I did ask that question of the state, and they said eventually when we can look for sources of funding to fund all schools, then we can mandate it. But until then, we can't.
Thanks, Lana.
Yep.
We are required to formally accept the continuous improvement plan, so I would look for a motion to accept the continuous improvement for FY20. Joe, thank you. Second? Steve? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Al. 8-0.
So did you approve the district and the schools as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. Okay, item 8E. We have the transportation study.
One quick one, sorry. So I know we just got the IFR. Was that also the snapshot of those results?
The snapshot is, we're still a little confused on the state with doing all this, but the snapshot is, and the IFR are 2 separate things, but they kind of are interrelated because it all has to do with EQS.
Yeah.
So what we'll see with the snapshot when it comes out is a snapshot.
It is a snapshot.
Administrators have already received a snapshot.
Right, and it comes out publicly tomorrow. We don't know at this point if we're going to see more publicly or not, because we actually haven't seen very much. It's only given us. It's only given us like one aspect.
Right.
The academic, the top one of the 5. And we haven't seen anything about the other 4. And the other thing, Joanna, with the snapshot is, for whatever reason they want, that's coming out gradually through December?
Yes. So there's another
so
version.
About 5 times they come out with a snapshot, and each time is added a little bit more to it.
Right.
We don't know why, but It is what it is.
Thank you.
Continuously improving.
Yes. Well, it's new for them too, so nobody else. So today seems to be a good time to get some of our studies and our plans and goals out for you. Just to frame this next part, especially for some of the new people on the board. As we were doing busing a while back, there was a discussion, especially our last board chair, Jim, wanted us to look at the possibility and to do a study on what it would mean if we did not contract out for busing, but instead owned our own. And Dave Kimmel very graciously said he would volunteer to do this and to look at this. And it's taken him quite a while to do it, but he's done a very thorough job and researched it quite heavily. You have that report, and Dave's going to give you an overview of what he came up with.
And I do remember the word clearly was volunteered to this.
Yes.
My report was attached for your consideration. It's relatively lengthy, but I think it's important for you to know that it's a very much condensed version of what my earlier drafts were and what could have been. I reviewed current bus schedule.
Could you speak up? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, Al.
We're moving you closer.
In performing the study, I reviewed the Lakes report, which the company that did the original study for us. Looked at busing schedules, looked at the year's worth of invoices of busing, requests for special buses and so on and so forth, additional interviews and all that stuff. I chose to not include a lot of exhibits as I consider it to be fluff. The report is 13 pages. I think if you look at any single part of it, you probably don't get a real good feel for the whole thing. It doesn't read particularly well in pieces, but I hope it comes together clearly in its entirety. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but knowing that most of you have probably read it over already, I just go right to the conclusion, and the conclusion that I reached was the financial benefits of bringing busing in-house are significantly overshadowed by the strain that I've identified in the system and the negatives. And my recommendation is that we should continue to contract the busing services until such time as potential savings do outweigh those aspects.
Until when, I'm sorry?
Until such time as the cost is outweighed, the cost savings is outweighed by the negative aspects. This is a decision you have to make. And I consider not making a recommendation at all, I'm just letting you draw your own conclusions, but after having put as much time in as I did, Dr. Burke allowed me to conclude the recommendation.
I think it's good. Anybody have any questions for Dave?
After reading the report, I tend to agree that we should proceed cautiously if we consider only have one. And I know you mentioned at the bottom here the monies that would be saved potentially in the first year and going out. Were those numbers generated keeping salaries consistent with where they are now? I thought I read earlier that perhaps one would have to consider offering higher salaries for bus drivers just to attract some because they're in such high demand. So I was curious whether the savings reflected paying at the current rates or whether that took into account
everything with regards to financial projections was based on my estimates, not based only on the WINCS estimates, which would be the first numbers. That was the starting point.
Okay.
And then where I indicated, for example, that I thought we'd have to pay more for bus drivers than they thought, those higher numbers are reflected in the cost estimates.
Thank you.
Certainly does seem like you hear that from everybody, that it's hard to find drivers.
Tough hours and behavior issues.
It's tougher and tougher to get a DOT, CDL license, and medical rules and restrictions and stuff as well. It's just tough.
And I think it's important to put in perspective. Some people might say, well, it's tough for us, it's tough for them too. But just like it's tough for an independent shoe store to continue to operate, or an independent restaurant, or anything else, it's going to change. If you have just one busing company, the MRUSD busing company, and you lose a couple bus drivers, you're in big trouble. If you're representing and contracting for several schools, so you have a much larger bus company, then you can shift people around a little bit. And that's where the really big risk comes in. I mentioned if we had a recall of all our buses because they all bought the same all the same year, or at least the same all the same year, we're in big trouble. Or if you have a company that has all these extra buses and shifts things around, it's a difference.
Any questions, Al?
No, I've gone through this a couple of times before. It's not that they did a good job, but bottom line is we're going to continue the lease.
Okay.
I have a question. How easy would it be to look at this like 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, based on your
I think it'd be very easy. I think, the key elements to me are more in the intangibles, such as what is the marketplace like today? Is it harder to look at the licensing? Is the employment market such that it would be easier to find employees? The numbers just going to kind of fluctuate, I think, with inflation for the most part, unless you do something drastic like change routes, but that would also change the cost of your contracted service. So updating this on a regular basis for one.
Thank you.
Have you talked about getting together with other superintendents in Franklin County to just to discuss this? And I don't mean that it would be a Franklin County bus company, but just in terms of being able to afford it. I know schools that can't afford after-school programs, can't afford sports busing, can't afford certain things because the prices are just becoming unmanageable. So how do we figure out a way to keep costs down from this monopoly that's that's happening? It's posing a problem to schools, right? We're at their mercy.
We're at their mercy, that's sure. There's a monopoly, and that's true, as Dave's reports show, in different parts of the state, all that. So that's certainly true. Your initial question is the superintendent's talked about, they haven't. We could, even in our own county, superintendents do it somewhat differently. Like Franklin West does own their buses, but they wish they didn't. And then the rest basically use the same bus. So, no, we haven't spoken about it. Something we could talk about. It's a tough nut right now, just for all the reasons that we mentioned.
I don't mean to come up with a new company. I'm saying maybe put some pressure on the bus company, something. It's got to give somewhere. It just can't keep going up all the time and be able to have certain amount of money to deal with.
Right. We get it. And that's not to say that we don't have a good relationship with the bus company and that we think they try hard, but we did see a big increase during the last negotiations. And we certainly made that clear to them, not as a county, and we are the largest employer.
So do you think the study puts us in a good position if a decision were made to bring it in-house, either just for ourselves or for the district? The blueprint is kind of there. At this point in time, I think it doesn't change the recommendation or the direction it's going. But if you get to that point where for whatever reason, I mean, it may be with all the hassles, this one bus company, and the only bus company has a river filters and monopoly, I don't know about that far. We decide they don't want to have the hassle anymore, and then what do we do? So, by doing the study, I think we are in a much better position to protect ourselves, both from pricing and from other risks that are inherent to all of us situation.
Thanks. Okay, item 8F1, we have an unpaid leave request.
So, actually, Julian, that's me. This is a paraprofessional who has worked at BFA for 12 years, and she's pursuing a special education endorsement, and so she's asking for this unpaid leave to be able to further student teaching. We have quite a history in this district. So like Jack does, when you're my age, you can talk about the history, right? Of encouraging paraprofessionals to continue their education. And so this is another paraprofessional who's done that. And she's going for a special education.
Okay. So I would look for a motion to approve the unpaid leave request from Amanda Higdon.
So moved.
Thanks, Al.
Second.
Jack, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it, 8-0. Okay, 9A, other business, we have the warrants.
Move that we approve the warrant.
Thank you, Al. Second?
I'll second.
Steve? Now he's pouting.
Who hasn't told? Sorry.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Superintendents report. There you are.
The only report I have for you this evening is I just want to take the opportunity, you're probably well aware, 3 of our people in the room will be leaving us very soon. Joanne, as of today.
My last official duty.
Kathy, who's staying on a little bit longer, until what, the 28th, Kathy?
Yes.
And Dave, all in retirement. And I just want to. I just wanted to say we will miss them. There's an awful lot of institutional knowledge that is growing with these 3, and certainly a lot of skills and work that occurred, and certainly the 3 of them were part of a transformation that's happened over the last 5 or 6 years, and I appreciate them so much, and we will miss them. So.
Agreed.
Here, here.
I'd just like to say thank you for all of your years of support, both the present board and past members of the board. Appreciate it.
Okay. Leanne, do you have anything else? Oh, I thought this said no.
I will wait for
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I think the last 5 years have actually seen some historic changes. Just before the whole consolidation, I'm excited to be a part.
Leanne, are you?
I could find all kinds of things to talk about if you like, but our report was enclosed. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But excited to end the year and prepare for the next.
All right, who do we have? Chris?
Thank you, Jeff. I just have one item I'd like to present. That is, graduation was Saturday and a magnificent, beautiful event. I was so pleased to see the number of people there. Estimates, I believe, were 2,500 folks from the communities came out to see the graduates. We graduated 200 students. A lot of effort went into their success, and we do have a gem over at Collins Road. It's a beautiful facility, and sometimes when you're there all the time, you sort of take it for granted, but when you get a chance to step back and see what a facility that is and how it's able to accommodate that many people, it really is magnificent. We're so pleased to be there. I've been in other situations in high school where they have tents and it's going to rain, but they're inside and packed in the gym. We're very fortunate. Aside from the facility that I know his name was mentioned, I would miss working with David Kimmel. Everything was always in great order. No detail was ever too minor for his attention. And it's been a pleasure working with him. I know Tim will do equally as well, and as a team, they made it a tremendous event, and it's just out of the ongoing way that they do business. And most importantly, I've got to thank Jeff, because you were there on stage and presented the performance and interacted with the students. And I was very pleased that Jeff was also able to come to our rehearsal, and I think because of Jeff's words of wisdom, the graduates fell in line. So it was just a terrific morning, and please know I don't speak as a 9-12 principal on this. I speak as a member of the administrative team, and the success of those students is as a result of their deep pre-K through 12 experience, community support from many places, and we're working with good folks as well. So it's times like that we can just sit back and enjoy our success.
Under Shannon's guidance, we only had to walk in twice. So that's pretty good. Shannon.
So I've been working the last couple of weeks with teachers and students and families to get students to Proficiency, and we have sent over 100 letters home, letting parents know that students may need to attend summer school, over 100 letters, and right now we have about 30 students that might be attending summer school, and some of them may require a couple of days to get over the line. So that's together around the next couple of days.
Thank you. Heather?
We had our third annual end of the year between the buildings bash that was sponsored by
I'm sorry, could you speak up a little bit more? I don't think everybody's hearing.
Yeah, that's okay. We had on Tuesday our third annual Between the Buildings Bash, which is hosted by Interact in partnership with Saint Albans Vermont. They received donations from Ben and Jerry's of large containers of ice cream that the Interact students scoop and hand out to kids as they walk across the buildings after finishing their exam. This year it was a DJ spinning some tunes. There's a bike that Rise Vermont donates that makes smoothies, so you can pedal it and with your kinetic energy spin your own smoothie. That's the third year that we've done it, so that's always something the kids look forward to when they get on top of it. And just, I thought it was really great to see your prank this year, which was about 2 weeks ago, was students buying, from what I was told, biodegradable balloons. Maybe they just told me that to get me to be quiet, but they bought all different shades of green and gold, and they got there for, I don't know, an hour in the morning, and filled the main office lobby with green and gold balloons. So I just, and it's so much fun doing it, and I videotaped them, so I walked them early, they were still blowing up. It was cool. And the kids, as they popped them, actually picked them up. So I just thought that was really kind of a piece.
Sean?
We had our graduation ceremony. Thank you for being there, Jeff and Susan, in our magnificent Kappa Gymnatorium at Fairfield Center School. I graduated 22 lovely 8th graders who will be going on to mostly PFA. No, there were more than 4. Yeah.
No, that was 24.
Oh, it was 24. Okay, good. I'm glad you were doing it, though. We just finished an undefeated softball season. We're not going to brag because that may not continue, but that was really awesome. Had our end of the year circle today with the faculty and staff. It was a really nice time for us to sort of close out the year. My faculty and staff is now enjoying a bonfire at someone's house. I hope they're having a wonderful time while I am here. I'm not at all bitter about that at all. We are. And I just wanted us to take a moment and think for a little bit about the fact that summer vacation is really exciting for all of us who work in the buildings, but summer vacation is really traumatic for a lot of our kids. And some of our kids were actually in crisis today. Because summer is not going to be good, and they're not going to have good meals, and they're not going to have structure, and they depend on us for that. So as we were saying goodbye, and we were cheering and waving goodbye and having a great time, we all need to keep in mind that it's not always so wonderful for all of our kids. Let's have that impact.
Thank you. Jason, can't see you, but
oh, sure. So, wrapping up like everybody else, busy time of year, but since about January, if not a little before, a couple of our staff members, Helen Lanthier and Kathy Stets, who do morning bus duty, have worn a variety of costumes every morning, greeting parents. And so today, staff members signed up, and they had pretty much every costume you can imagine under the sun lined up outside, waving to kids as they left to go. So just kind of welcome them with a dance party this morning as they were coming in off the bus, and parents dropping off kids. So just kind of ending up began the celebration.
Did anybody have the BFA Bob White costume? Because I'm not sure if you guys ever
No, we didn't. It was a little warm to be in a mascot costume. I've been in the pause outfit before, and I don't recommend it.
It's a good weight loss.
It's a very good weight loss.
Thank you. Angela.
So I just wanted to add, we've had some great end of the year celebrations, school-wide events, and many really fantastic field trips and experiences for our students. I wanted to mention there's 2 of our teams in 5th and 6th grade, and there's 1 team in 5 and 1 in 6, who've been very involved in Relay for Life, and they've been doing a lot of work around that. One of the teams had a bottle drive, a car wash, another team did a movie night, all raising funds for American Cancer Society. And actually it's this coming Saturday, they'll be at the complex and bring the teams from noon to midnight. But one of the other things the teams did, there was all video and recorded, we had a number of young ladies donate their hair. And so we had volunteer folks come in from beauty shops, and these girls had locks cut off to donate. And it was really nice. So they just done a super job. American Cancer Society. Let Stacy do it.
We know that she's loud.
Sorry. We've been doing this all day, and we're not on the same wavelength. That's what I'm saying most of the time, so I apologize. We had a fantastic step-up day. I've never seen kids so excited to come back as they were this morning, and staff so rejuvenated. We had a great luncheon today, and I also wanted to point out, if you haven't seen our announcements, we had 4 students who are in Washington, D.C. They won nationals for Cyber Mission, and they've been sending us pictures, and I think they are having the time of their lives, talking about phosphates and cleaning up the lake. So it was time for this is a funny little story. It's time for the luncheon today, and we have right, our custodial worker sleeping down the wall, and I came into the office and the banging was coming from the area where I usually am with students if they're having a difficult time dysregulated. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it to luncheon today. But all the kids were gone and everything was safe and all was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. Like, no, it can't be. It's not walking on the bus lane.
Thank you. Lisa?
Just like Leanne said, everything is in the report.
All right. It was good. There was a lot going on. That's for sure.
Thank you.
All right, Dave.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the board for your support. I'd like to thank my constituents for their support, assistance, and friendship. And I'd like to mention that in my day growing up, schools were a place where we learned. Today, the Maple One board is guided by a mission statement that ends with the words, learn, achieve, and succeed. Because our society has demanded so much more out of our schools than just being a place to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. And rather than a final statement to you, I would like to leave you with a question that I kind of ask myself almost every day. A question for the board, a question for the rest of the people involved in the school system, and that is, how can we expect a graduate to be able to work with others if they've never learned to play with others?
Thank you. Okay, 9E, board announcements. Anybody have anything?
I did.
All right.
So as you guys might have heard, the BFA Comets won that state championship.
The results are in.
Yeah, and it was pretty amazing. Like at the bottom of the 6th inning, it was all tied up. Mrs. Scoy's had the bases loaded, and BFA got out of it. And then at the bottom of the 7th inning, we were ahead by 1. The tie runner was on third base, and Candace DeSaro and Megan Connor made this just amazing double play that finished it off. It was. Oh, yeah, did I say Candace?
That's funny though.
I meant to say Caitlin, Candace. It was really, really amazing. It was really amazing. It was great to see the support come back in. And I think that it was great seeing all the Fairfield softball players there, and my guess is next year Fairfield's going to have a great team as well. Yeah.
Advanced planning report.
I might just add to what Susan said. I was talking to the head of the VPA, Vermont Principals Association, last week, and he was joking with me. I was mentioning about the softball team winning, and he said, "You know, don't you, that the VPA loves to see BFA in the finals, in the semifinals, they move up." I said, "That's nice, but isn't that a little bit favoritism?" And he said, "Well, maybe, but when you guys are in it, you bring so many people down. It's great for our pocketbook because they get money off of it." He says, "We don't get that all the time with other districts."
So the one last thing I will say, and it has to do with, if we don't learn to play together, the really nice thing to see was a bunch of the BFA players actually play summer ball on a competitive summer team with the MVU players. So afterwards, it was really nice. I don't know if it was so nice for MVU, but it was nice to see the girls together and supporting each other, the BFA players supporting the MVU players and vice versa. And it was nice to see, I'm going to say even this weekend, one of my nieces graduated from BFA. She was on the Vermont State High School Alpine team that went to All Easterns. And one of the girls that came was the girl, a student that she competed against all through high school, who went on to win Vermont and All Easterns. But it was nice to see that they play together and they compete against each other and they can still be friends and support each other.
Okay,
I just want to thank Angela and Jason for the SATEC. Steve and I went to the SATEC. I had my personal, obviously, you know, I graduated, but it was very nice.
Oh, she did graduate.
She did. Wow. We will not sit at the table next time. They allowed me to help with giving the diploma, so thank you again. It was very nice.
Great having your help.
No, it was very nice, and I've had a lot of people, again, it's under an hour. I think it was actually 50 minutes this year, so people appreciated that. It was very nice, but kept it going, so thank you.
And if I can say thank you to Jeff and Stacy for having me, although I wasn't in every single picture. Every kid. And I didn't know how many people I was Facebook friends with, so they all started tagging me in every picture. But the ceremony was great, it was wonderful. And I was telling somebody, I had come up of the Camp Abernathy field trip with Andrew, so I had gone, you know, from a cabin of 5 12-year-old boys, long, you know, luxurious night of sleep, you know, very restful, and then, you know, to graduation the night after. So it was wonderful, and the trip, the camping trip was wonderful. A good opportunity to let our kids play and let them just be kids and play capture the flag and run around and be called in for meals with the bell and then just run outside and be in the water and play into archery and other things. So it was just really nice to see the kids do that. So, yeah, I'm feeling really grateful that my kids get a good part of that.
I'll say something too. I went outside of the Maple Run district and went to the U for graduation. But there were 10 Fairfield students that graduated from Williamsburg. And it was a beautiful ceremony, and it actually made me remember that, you know, in our effort to be a support to all of our students and our whole district, that BFA may not be the school for all of our students, and that it's important for us to be able to support them in wherever it is that they choose to go or appeal to, you know, to go. And for a lot of our agricultural, you know, farm families, that Enosburg is still a primary choice for them because it is really valued there. And I just think that that's also important for us to just be brave and bold to be able to accept and also celebrate. So,
thank you. As of now, I think Sean told me that 20 of the 24 students are going to come here next year.
Actually, I think it's 23 out of 24.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think there's only one who's voting.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Agenda items for future meetings. Anybody got anything?
We'll find things.
Okay, we do not need an executive session, so seeing as we are at the end of our agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Except for one.